Welcome to the Big Kid Show. I am Mark. Thanks for landing with us here in the Big Kid Treehouse. With me, I have Big Nick and Mr. B. If you haven't already, please be sure to like, subscribe, give us a rating, drop us a review. We appreciate all you big kids out there. Today, we will be diving into 3 questions about the league. That's right. You know it. You love it. It's the National Football League. It's the most popular sports, I don't want to say in the whole world, but sorry, football, soccer. In the U.S., it's the National Football League. The season is at the halfway point, and the world is peppermints and candy for some people. And for others, it's a raging river that has no forgiveness, and you swear it's going to kill you week in and week out.
I'm dying.
I'm dying. So, boys, that leaves us with plenty to dissect today. We are going to go 3 question style. We got a couple relatable questions about the season and how things are going. And then we got a little fun bonus question at the end. So, boys, Let's just dive right in. Let's dive right in. There's so much good stuff to talk about, so much meat on the bone with the NFL. I feel like I could take a nap and still do this show with the NFL. There's so much good stuff to talk about. So, boys, let's get into our first question. This one is going to be centered around, we're at the halfway point. It's kind of tough. We did our quarter of the way through the season episode, starting to dive through some topics. You get about halfway through, everybody's kind of got an eyeball on January. They're kind of looking to see, who's going to be around when we start talking about playoffs. Who's going to be that team?
Playoffs.
Come on, playoffs?
We'll talk about playoffs.
So, who's going to be that team that kind of takes control? Well, that's not what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about who is the bold playoff team prediction, boys, who you think can be that dark horse. Not the obvious one, but who's the dark horse that could potentially, I'm not saying win it all. I'm not saying go to the Super Bowl. I'm saying who can get into the playoffs and maybe make a little bit of noise once they get into it. So, Big Nick, let's start with you. Who would you say is your bold playoff team prediction?
Okay, so if you will allow me, let's walk hand in hand together, big kids.
Let's hold hands.
Of America and of the world. Let's unite. Remember, hands across America, hands across the world.
That's right.
Allow me, I would like a little bit of airing of grievances first before I get to my bold.
I got some problems with you people.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Got problems. No soup for you.
So my team is terrible. All right. I hate my team. I hate the Cleveland Browns. I hate the owners. I think Jimmy and Dee Haslam are shady weirdos. I think that
donuts at the Flying J suck.
Kevin Stefanski is a liar. I think that Andrew Berry knows what he's doing, but he's doing like a pay no attention to the man behind the curtain kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this all stems from Deshaun Watson. You guys brought him in. You destroyed my team. Here's the thing that I don't hate about the Browns, the players and the fans. All right. I hate the front office. I hate what they're doing to it. I hate what they're doing to the fans. I hate that they're wasting Myles Garrett's best years and Joel Bitonio's best years by not bringing in the legit players and not having a legit quarterback and paying this sicko file, this weirdo who's got some sexual assault fantasy that he has to play out 1,000 times on real life people. I hate that that's happening. So when my team is in the situation that they are, Big Nick loves the NFL. Big Nick needs to go and find teams to watch, to fill, to satiate that weekly need that I have to enjoy and love football with my fellow man and woman. Hands across America, hands across the world. So one of my favorite teams to watch this year is the Commanders. They're so exciting, playing a very exciting brand of football. The defense keeps getting better week after week. Jalen Daniels, I think, is probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year. Scary Terry McLaurin is always awesome. They got 2 legit running backs. They got legit at depth at running back. So my airing of grievances is this. This last week, the Commanders fell to 7-3. Losing by 1 point to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. I watched the entire game. I think both teams are quite exciting. The Steelers call team, the guys calling the game, at the end of the game, very shamefully, they said, Well, the Commanders, yeah, sure, they've got some wins, but those are against bad teams. Once they step up in class, look how they fail to get the victory. Step up in class, excuse me, they lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
That's as close as it gets to I mean, if 1 more point and it's a tie. 2 more points and it's a win. So don't claim that there's some lower class of team versus the Steelers when they lose by 1 point. So that's my airing of grievance.
And the Steelers are underrated, I would say. I mean, by myself included. So yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
so don't shame the Commanders for they're 7-3, which is awesome. I'm sure their fan base is super excited about the season. Don't shame them and their fan base for having a great season so far. That's a playoff team who almost beat the Steelers. Let's keep that in mind. Almost beat. All right, now I won't harp on this too long. I'll get to my bold playoff prediction. But the second team I do want to mention is there's a team out in the desert. It's not like Desert Storm. Remember, Desert Storm was very loud, lots of explosions. You could see the flashes of light on TV. No, it's not like that. There's a team out in the desert that has very quietly stacked up 4 consecutive wins. That's the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
So be mindful of the Commanders. Be mindful of the Cardinals. Here's my bold playoff prediction. The 4-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, could still win the division, and I think they could win the first round of the playoffs and advance to the second round. I think Baker Mayfield is playing some of his best ball. I think that he's keeping it close and playing competitive ball without 2 of their best offensive weapons. They haven't had Mike Evans for like 5 weeks.
Yeah, and they lost Godwin, so they lost both their top 2 receivers.
And there's one undefeated team in the NFL. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Guess what? No Mike Evans, no Godwin. Baker takes them into overtime against the Chiefs, and I think it was on the road too.
His reaction when they won the coin toss was just
his face like,
fuck. Oh man, you could see it written all over. He's like, they lost the coin toss, and he just goes, son of a.
Which shows you the overtime rules are bullshit, though.
Yeah. But I digress.
I don't have the record in front of me here, but I'm going to go out on a limb. So they lose to the Chiefs. They take them into overtime. They lose by 1 score to the Falcons. They lose by 3 points to the 49ers. And they did get kind of beat up against the Ravens. Yep. But they are the only team to take the Chiefs to overtime and beat the Detroit Lions. They beat
the Lions, which is arguably one of the best teams in the NFL.
I'm trying to pull up. Yes, they beat them 20-16 in week 2. So I think their record is terrible, 4-5, but I think that they still have a puncher's chance to win the division. And I think if they get to the playoffs, if they're healthy, watch out. I think they advance to the second round. That's my bold playoff prediction for a 4-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team.
I like it. Mr. B, let's go your direction.
Well, if you look at the playoff picture now, that's maybe the only bold prediction. So just because so many teams are doing so well, I mean, pretty much, barring some crazy stuff, the Lions are looking great. The Vikings are great. I see the 49ers pulling off some wins.
They're Eagles, on the outside Commanders. Looking in at the moment.
Yeah. So the Buccaneers kind of are right there. They have a chance to overpass the Falcons if they can get Mike Evans back. Yeah, because I don't see another team that maybe even have a shot. The Bears are garbage. Yep. The Seahawks and Rams are battling for the 4th place garbage spot. Yeah.
So let me lay this out real quick, just for all those out there, because I don't know if everybody's kind of in the know of what it looks like. So right now in the NFC, you've got the Lions as the number 1 seed. You've got the Eagles number 2, Falcons are 3, Cardinals are 4th, Vikings are 5th, Commanders are 6th, and the Packers are 7.
And we're
6-3.
And we're recording this right before the Thursday night game, so that could change with the
this is
Eagles
before week 11.
Yeah. The Eagles are playing the Commanders tonight, so that's going to be
exactly. So on the outside, you've got the 49ers at number 8, the Bears at 9, which I can't believe they're even at 9, Seahawks at 10, Rams at 11, Bucks at 12, 36% playoff probability according to NFL.com, Big Nick.
And it's
for
because they
them.
have a bye.
And then underneath them, you've got the Cowboys. And actually, the Bucks are 4-6, Big Nick, 4-6.
Yeah.
My bad.
Which I think is why they dropped down past a few of these other teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it just gets worse from there.
I mean, the Buccaneers, at least, I mean, they're putting up points. Baker Mayfield's bringing the thunder. So that I would also agree with you, Big Nick. Like I told you, I'll follow you blindly, buddy.
I love
That's
you,
also
my
my deep track for them to sneak in there.
Yeah. Well, I'll concur with you guys. I had the Bucks as well. So, and
Right on.
it's funny. We went on vacation and my daughter made a friend and me and my wife made friends with her parents and they were from Tampa. So me and the guy ended up talking a lot about the NFL and, you know, he was a Bucks fan, obviously. And when you watch the Bucks, I mean, Baker Mayfield, I think you got to give that guy a lot of credit. And Big Nick, this probably is almost like talking about an ex for you, but the guy has come and really brought his A game with the Buccaneers. I mean, they signed him to an extension, obviously. It seems like he's matured a little bit and he's really kind of come around to be a pretty good, I don't know. I'm not going to say elite. I mean, definitely not elite, but probably top half of the league quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably in the 10 to 15 range, right? And I mean, I think he's done a good job. They've got a pretty solid defense and they've got some weapons on offense. So yeah, I think the Buccaneers, that's who I had. I think they can sneak in. It's hard not to see the 49ers making it in.
Yeah, that's my thought is looking at it's like I don't see how the 49, I mean, they've had a lot of injuries and they're still at 5-4.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Falcons have really come on. Like you said, the Cardinals, Big Nick, but they're still sitting at 6-4, which
4 consecutive wins is very difficult in the NFL.
It
Not
is.
trying to
Yeah, it
jinx
is.
them,
and I mean, you know, we're getting into that season where you do want to start to get hot, right? I mean, when it gets into the weather starts dipping, you want to start hitting your stride. Let's kick it to the AFC real quick, boys, if you don't mind. So let me set this up. We've got the Chiefs somehow undefeated. Look, nothing against the Chiefs, except everything against the Chiefs. Maybe the luckiest 9-0 team ever, right? I mean,
agreed.
The way that they've pulled off some of these wins is just kind of crazy to me. But anyway, so you've got the Chiefs at 9-0. You've got the Bills at number 2. You've got the Steelers at 3, which has to be one of the biggest surprises at 7-2.
Everyone preseason had Steelers finishing the AFC North last.
Yeah, including I think me and you, Mr. P. We had them down at the bottom of the division. I really did not see it. Just shows how important defense is, and their defense is still one of the best in the league. Yeah, I mean, there's no way around.
Like him or hate him, Mike Tomlin, he knows what he's doing over there.
He does. I mean, the guy can coach. He's probably, I would say, probably the best coach in the AFC North. Obviously, John Harbaugh, you know, giving him a little bit of run there. Texans at number 4. They started off real slow, but they've really come on. Joe Mixon has been a huge factor for them. What
happens when you leave the Bengals, then you do well.
You do well. I'm telling you. And you got the Ravens at number 5, Chargers at number 6, and the Broncos at number 7 with Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback. And again, I think you're looking at, you know, defense potentially. So on the bubble in the AFC, we've got the Colts who are 4-6. So they're only a game behind the Broncos. The Bengals at 4-6. And then it kind of falls off the cliff after that. You've got the Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots all in kind of the 3-6, 3-7 range. And then the Browns down at 2-7. And Titans, Raiders, Jaguars. Wow. So I'll start here real quick, boys. And I know this one's tough because I've gone back and forth with how I feel about this team, but I think this is going to be the homer pick. I think the Bengals still could be a sneaky
I knew you guys were going to do this.
Well,
I think they could be a sneaky playoff in if they beat the Chargers this weekend.
And eliminate the homer pick. Their offense is just putting it up. Like I saw some stat that, I mean, the Bengals are like 2-3 when they score 30 points. The rest of the NFL is like 24-1 or
39-1.
39. So you saw
39-1.
So clearly it's one of these things of like the defense is just a dumpster fire.
And Joe Burrow, you know, is just in fuego. And then you've got Jamar Chase potentially with the Triple Crown. He's first place in so many statistical categories. Yeah. The Bengals are going to, man, they got to be kicking themselves for not signing him in the offseason because it's going to cost them even more next year. Yeah. Now at this point, because he's definitely established himself. But no, I think that it really, for the Bengals, it depends on this weekend. I think if they lose to the Chargers, I think that's it. I think
Agreed.
They're done.
Well called, buddy.
And the Chargers are the number one defense in the league, so it's going to be a very interesting challenge. Big Nick, what about you? You got anybody in the AFC? Do the Colts do anything for you?
I feel like the Bengals, just to kind of little cross-examination here, since we've all been thinking about trials so much. Yeah,
they're getting no free passes this year.
Look. The Bengals are very exciting. Joe Burrow's Jamar Chase, I think I said it a few weeks ago here when we were talking NFL. I don't know if it was on mic or not, but we were certainly talking, the three of us, and yards after catch, Jamar Chase might be the most fun guy to watch in the league.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Yeah. After the catch. And Burrow, I just love how down to earth he is about his understanding of the game and his team, where he's like, we're going to have to score 30 points a game just to have a chance. And damn, that couldn't be more spot on. I'm not going to pick nits at your pick here, Mark. And I know I made a noise. It was only because I figured that you both would probably pick the Bengals, and maybe Mr. B could pick whoever. We don't know yet. But
in fairness, there's not a whole lot of choices in the AFC.
There's not a lot of great choices. But I will point out, I do think for the Bengals to make it, we're talking about they've got to go worst, I think 5-2 over this next 7-game stretch.
And even then, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, they almost, I think they can only lose one game.
I mean, the thing for me is they're only one game out of the wild card, which is kind of crazy to think about because there's been 2 or 3 different times this season already. I've been like, well, season's over.
But the problem is no one thought the Steelers wouldn't do so well. And I think that's what's
yeah. And I think, really all they have to do is catch the Broncos because the Broncos have the 7 seed. They're 5-5. The Bengals are 4-6. So, I mean, that's really, I think, the only chance they have to get into the playoffs is you catch the Broncos? And they play the Broncos. So that's why I think if they can beat the Chargers, then playing the Broncos will be interesting. At this point, I will not say they will definitely beat anybody the rest of the year, even though the schedule looks easy, because they've proven to this point that they can't beat anybody.
No.
So, but I don't know if I trust the Colts, who are really the only other competition besides the Broncos.
Yeah, well, they keep flopping quarterbacks and
they went Flacco, and now Richardson's back for this week. So. Yeah, I just don't know if I have enough trust there. But
I think Jim Irsay put the coach in a headlock and said, you got to put Richardson back on the field. But look, these owners, they write the checks, so they got to do it. And I like I said, I won't pick nits at your pick here, Mark, because the Bengals dropping 30 points on people. I'm 40 years old. The Browns have never scored 30 points in my lifetime. So I can't say, but here, look, and I don't want to sound like I'm just kind of recycling here, because I know last season I gave a lot of love to the old Dolphins, right? The old Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins as my pick. And look, it's a bigger stretch than the Bengals, because the Dolphins are sitting at 3-6, but they have an extra game to play, right? They have one more game to play than the Bengals, so that needs to be a win.
I'm going
to base it off of a couple things. I really think that. Here's the deal with the AFC. I think the AFC is a little more cut and dried than the NFC. Why? Because when I look at the AFC, I see a whole lot of dog shit. All right. Jets, dog shit. Patriots, dog shit. Raiders, dog shit.
Which is, by the way, not what we were saying at the beginning of this year.
Cat shit. Browns, dog shit. Titans, dog shit. Jaguars, double dog shit.
Dumpster fire.
Yes. And Colts, who knows? They're not as good as the Bengals. But so here's the thing, though, that I'll say positive about the Dolphins, which they could be fish shit for all I know. But look at their schedule. They got the Raiders, they got the Patriots, they got the Jets twice, and they got the Browns. If the Dolphins are healthy, those are 5 teams. Those are 5 games that I'm confident that they can win. I know that the Jets is a bit of a stretch because they play them twice, but I watched the Jets last week. It looked like they've done checked out and gone home, man. It's smell you later.
It looks like Aaron Rodgers went and did ayahuasca all summer and missed training camp. Oh, wait, that's actually what happened.
Yeah, it looked like.
And I like Aaron Rodgers. But
I know in the history of America that this has never happened, but it looked like showing up to a Thursday night freshman football game and the whole team got high beforehand. Like that's like they're just like, yeah, we don't really want to play. So, and here a little deep dive I did with Tua. They're averaging almost 11 points more a game. Like they are the lowest scoring team in the AFC right now. But if you could go back and retroactively apply, between 40 and 44 points to those 4 games, you're looking at a much different team. So it's a big stretch. I know it, but I'm only picking them because, like I said, I think there's so much manure, to put it in a nicer term, in the AFC. But if I'm going to have to pick somebody that's bold, I see 7 solid teams. I think the Broncos, even at 5-5, are a solid team. And I think the only team that can really challenge them would be the Bengals and then probably the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think to me, so the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Dolphins were all teams, and the Bengals, obviously, but those were teams that we were talking about being creme de la creme at the beginning of the year, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like top of and it's just been a weird year where those teams have just, and even the Browns, I never would have thought, if you would have told me 2-7 at the half, I had bullshit. I
would have bet you a large sum of money.
500 is the worst, I would have guessed. And that's just because I legitimately thought Deshaun Watson would finally, I mean, the guy was so good at Houston. And look, I'm taking the off the field stuff off because that stuff's disgusting, but just on the field, it's like, how do you go from being one of the best promising young quarterbacks in the league to absolute dog doo-doo?
We're talking about practice.
This is how you do it. You sexually assault over 20 different individuals and then have to settle with them for hundreds of thousands of dollars outside of court and then have to sit in front of TV cameras, and your mom knows that you are a horrible individual. That's person. Shameful, son. And then
that is shameful. That's very shameful.
He's so checked out and doesn't care about you, me, or any other the NFL fans out there. When he's under the microscope and already shamed his family and everybody else, what does he do? He goes over to like Saudi Arabia for vacation. I guarantee you some weirdo prince paid his ass to go over there. He was on social media wearing the garb and over there touring Saudi Arabia, and he brought his girlfriend with him. I don't know. The guy, don't get me started.
We could have a whole show about that dude because he's just a piece of trash. But and again, I think the NFL, it was the perfect time and the worst thing for the players for that guy to be the one that got the fully guaranteed contract, because it made owners across the league go, see, that's why we don't do that. Right? Because you guys have you're chained to him for the next 2 years, whether, you could tell him to go kick rocks, and the salary cap hit for the next 2 years is just exorbitant. So I'm not envious, and the Browns are my second favorite team in the division, so I don't wish that ill will on you guys or the people of Cleveland, who do deserve somewhat of a winning team up there after the Ravens skipped town on them. So
not just money, but 3 first-round picks.
Yes. Let's not even go there.
And Bo Nix. Jalen Daniels.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a whole other story. So, all right, boys, I think that wraps up our playoff prediction. Let's get into our second one. Let's start talking about MVP. I don't think it's too early. We're halfway through the year. I think we can start to talk about who we envision as our early MVP. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if this one may be a trifecta with all 3 of us picking the same guy. But you can say your MVP. If you got an honorable mention too, feel free to just rattle it off while you go. Mr. B, why don't you start off for us? Who is your early MVP so far halfway through the season?
I mean, obviously everyone's looking at Lamar Jackson, but I think if the Bengals had a better winning record, you would be talking Joe Burrow and or Lamar Chase, or God bless America,
Jamar
Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase is putting up crazy numbers. The problem is, historically, usually the MVP is also on a winning team. So, I mean, if the Bengals stay the way they're looking, unfortunately, it's not going to happen, because I always love to see a non-quarterback MVP.
Yeah.
You know, when's the last time it's happened? It's been like 20 years or something, but I mean, yeah, I would love to see Jamar Chase get it just with the numbers he's putting. I'd love to see him just double these numbers and just go lights out, 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, and just make everyone look stupid.
I like it. Big Nick, what say you?
I'm going to put Mr. B on cross-examination here. I like both of those picks and consider both of those, and you took the words out of my mouth. If they had a winning record, those two guys would be in consideration, with one exception. Yep. Correct me if I'm wrong, boys. Jamar Chase willingly and chose to sit out week 1, correct?
Yeah.
That, if I'm a voter, that would affect my voting. Yep. That really would. Because I want this to be not only a player award, but if you're going to award it to a player on a winning team or a Super Bowl contender, it should be thought of as a team award, at least inside that locker room. So that would affect, if I had a vote, that would affect my vote. And I do want to be clear here. I do really would like that ball player. I think he's
also crazy though that he has these numbers sitting out a week.
Yes.
I mean, that's
still leading the league with all the different.
He's one of 12 players that does not require practice. That's understood. My picks, I got 2 picks, and I'm going to follow B here because I love the idea of not giving it to a quarterback. I think it's made the award so boring, right? Because
it's just going to naturally go to a quarterback, and they're the person that touches the ball the most. But I agree. It's like, there's some amazing football players that the average Joe doesn't realize what they do. Like Aaron Donald was a player like that. He wouldn't put up numbers, but he was a menace on the field. And it's like, that to me is like, who's the greatest football player playing right now? Yeah. Sorry, Big Nick, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I love it. You cut in anytime you want. My 2 picks would be, I got one from the AFC, one from the NFC. I went Derrick Henry. And maybe I'm kind of giving it to him as like a career award because I've just loved his career and the longevity of this dude. And he's been in the league for so long, and I still watch him on Sunday, and I'm amazed at what he can do. He's so big, and he looks so much faster than the other running backs when I watch them play. I'm like, he's
having a good year, man.
Yeah.
He's having a real good year.
You would need
is he 30? I think.
Yes, he will be 31 before the end of the season. Okay. So he's having a great season. He's a good fit at the Ravens. Running back is certainly a stretch, but shout out to King Henry. You are one of the best, one of my favorite players to watch over the course of the last 8-10 years. Here's one that I didn't think I would pick because this team, but it comes down to this team and how they perform. I'm going to go A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Eagles.
Ooh.
And simply because when he's on the field, they are a completely different team than when he's not on the when he's not on the field, they're like a 500 team. They're a 7-10 and 8-9 type of team. They're good enough to get some wins. They're still better than the Browns without A.J. Brown, but with A.J. Brown, I think they're NFC championship contender. I really do. They are there. It changes the whole dynamic of that team, and it totally changes what the defense has to do on their side of the ball. So shout out to AJ Brown as well. Those are my 2 picks, and B, I loved your picks as well.
Yeah, and
I like it.
The AJ Brown choice. You're right. It shows you the impact an amazing receiver can have on a team. I mean, even if it's not catching balls, it's because the defense is like, oh shit, we have to account for this fella. Versus if he's not out there, even if he's dinged up, he's just a decoy. But
even with a high end quarterback, they've got Jalen Hurts, who's no slouch. It's not like AJ Brown's carrying the quarterback.
It's just kind of a side note. I think the Eagles are one of the scariest teams right now. They've won 5 in a row. Big Nick, I know you said 4 is hard to do. They got 5, and they're just putting up points like nobody's business. And I'm looking forward to tonight's game. So let's wrap this thing up here.
Yeah, tonight's game, honestly, against the Commanders, that's going to be a hell of a game. So let's talk through mine. I actually am with you, Mr. B. I did have Lamar Jackson and then a sneaky as Joe Burrow, just because, again, with the stats. But I want to touch base on Big Nick's real quick. So Derrick Henry's leading the league in rushing yards. He has 1,120 rushing yards through 10 games. Through 10 games. The next closest, who I was going to mention as a potential MVP candidate, who is also head and shoulders above the guy below him, is Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who I can't believe the Giants let walk. I mean, I get not paying the running backs. I get that. But as the Giants, who else are you paying? Daniel Jones.
I also wonder. I also wonder if that was like a mutual departure.
Well, it's interesting because I watched the Hard Knocks this year, which I think was the first off-season Hard Knocks they had, and it was the Giants.
Yeah.
And they show the whole negotiation process.
Okay. I didn't watch that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It was fascinating to watch. Honestly, one of the best Hard Knocks I've ever seen. I think they need to continue with the off-season one because I think that's almost more interesting than the training camp one, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
The combine and the draft, and they do all the off-season stuff. It's so interesting to see all that, how the sausage was made, NFL style. But they wanted him, but they set a ceiling. And they were just like, if we're going to let you go out there. We're going to let you talk. Come back to us with your best offer, and then we'll tell you if we'll match it. It sounded very much like what the Bengals do a lot, which frustrates the hell out of me. And ultimately, he came back, and they said, okay, have a good career.
Eagles we'll take you.
Yeah. I would like to address the Giants here, the New York Football Giants, while we're on the subject. I think they should focus more on football and less on making sausage. That would be a recommendation here.
I was shocked to see how much sausage they made in that GM's office.
They're playing polka music and making sausages.
Yeah, you got hot dog casings all over the place. What the hell's going on in there? I thought you guys were talking football. You guys are just literally making sausages.
Just making sausage.
The only thing they're missing was the grill. No, it's fascinating. Well, and the telling thing to me was the owner, John Mara, walking in multiple times to the office of the GM, and he kept saying to him, hey, I think we really got to keep Saquon. And then the scene where the Eagles end up signing him and the owner is in the GM's office and he has to tell him, and just the look on the owner's face, it's almost like, yeah, enjoy your last season. You might be gone after this year. And look, the GM seems like a nice guy. I never wish anybody to lose their job ever. But how do you get rid of your best player? I mean, you got Malik Neighbors, add Saquon Barkley with that. I mean, that's when you get that running and passing threat, that's how you make it happen. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different interesting NFL MVP candidates we could go with, but I think that's who I'm going to go with. So just for record, underneath Saquon Barkley, who has 991 rushing yards, it jumps down to Chuba Hubbard at 818.
And he just got paid.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then
good for him.
Oh, did he? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, he got a
3-year contract.
Yeah. Good for him, man.
Yeah,
good
he's
for him.
awesome.
I feel like he was always a guy I was just like, oh, he's just a dude in Carolina. And yeah, they don't have many dudes, so they can take everybody they can get. And then underneath him is Josh Jacobs at 762. So, I mean, the drop off from Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley is steep.
Yeah.
It's a very steep drop off.
And Mark, just to expand on what you were saying, man, it was like with Henry and with Saquon Barkley, it's become this thing in the NFL where a lot of teams just don't want to pay the running back. And it's shameful because I'm sitting there watching the other day and I'm like, really? And I get that we were close to the salary cap, but I think Derrick Henry was $8 million a year. Like in the grand scheme of salary caps, that's not a whole lot of money.
No.
And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, yeah, okay, Browns. So you knew Nick Chubb could come back like week 10, but why not just get Derrick Henry too? Because your quarterback is freaking terrible. So now we would have two dope running backs. And it's like, would that be so bad? And then Saquon Barkley, same thing. It's like, oh, sorry, Saquon, you are super awesome and have been very good in the NFL for very long. But we decided to pay Daniel Jones instead.
Yeah.
So
oh my God.
We got no more money left. Between Daniel Jones and all the sausages, we've got no money left.
You know how much that sausage machine cost?
37
giving
million.
away sausage machines. Come on now. Let me just throw this out there, just then we can kind of finish this and go to our last question here, boys. Flipping to the receiving side of things. So Jamar Chase has 981 yards receiving so far.
Baby.
The next player after him has 831, 150 yards less. That's Justin Jefferson, who also missed a couple games. Underneath him, it's 711, Terry McLaurin. So between the 1 and 3 spots of receivers, it's a 260-yard difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at Jamar Chase, the 2 games he had against the Ravens, though, I mean, that's a season for some receivers.
And looking at A.J. Brown, he has 553, but to put it in context, Jamar Chase has 66 receptions. A.J. Brown only has 28. So if you essentially doubled what A.J. Brown has, he would be right up there with Jamar Chase in regards to the amount of yards. So, yeah, it's been an interesting year. When I just look at, I mean, Darryl Mooney is the number 6 receiver. Garrett Wilson is number 4. Like, it's just a weird year. I feel like it's one of those years when you look at the leaders, you're just like, that guy's in the top 10?
Well, and it also shows you that the smartest football brains, they try to predict stuff. They don't know shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that's the NFL.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Well, they don't. I mean, it's just like we're talking with predictions and early season stuff. Nobody knows shit.
Yeah. And I mean, top 3 passing, just while we're on it, you got Joey Burrow, 2,672. 3 yards behind him is Lamar Jackson. And then at number 3, Kirk Chains.
Yeah.
Boy, Kirky Chains, a friend of the podcast.
You like that?
You like that?
You like that?
Put a hole in his sweater. I'll put a hole in your secondary.
That's right.
I'm hanging out with Kirk Cousins next weekend.
That's right.
Sit around and drink milk.
Tell Kirk we said
make some s'mores.
Yeah, so smart.
Get him a Santa beard and you're ready to roll. All right, boys, let's roll into our third and fun bonus question here. We've done uniforms in the past, but we've been watching the NFL now for half a year. Mm-hmm. Let's get into the best and worst uniforms. I think, to me, this is going to be an interesting one because I don't know about you guys, but the research team was sleeping in the break room when I was just trying to get them even motivated for this one. Yep. It was a tough motivational week for the research team.
Lazy bastards.
Yeah. I don't know what they've been doing here recently, but it was a little bit of a challenge. Even once I got some coffee brewed and got things going, there's a lot of uniforms in the NFL that are different colors but look a lot alike. So it's going to be interesting to see where you boys end up going with this one. Mr. B, why don't you start us off? Let's all do our worst first, and then we'll come back around and do the best, if that makes sense. So, Mr. B, who do you have as your worst uniform?
The worst uniform is the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Kansas City
You hate
Chiefs.
them so much.
It's gross looking.
Gross. Who likes red?
It might as well just be uniforms that are striped like the referees. It's gross.
I mean, I have seen quite a few pictures of the referees in white with red stripes. Yeah. I mean,
and
sorry, Chiefs fans.
Obviously, I'm biased. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs, but just also, I feel like they have the most, just the lamest jerseys. I don't know. I mean, they're kind of just like, they're red and white. And there's kind of some gold in there, like whatever.
It feels like if Ronald McDonald owned a franchise, right? That's the uniforms they would wear.
He's like, let's go with that and give everyone a free toy in their McMeal or something. Yeah. But so no, there's not a lot of jerseys and uniforms that I hate, I guess. Yeah. But that one to me, I actually went through it. I'm like, let me just look at all of them and see. And I'm like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it's the Chiefs.
Yeah. Can't argue with it. Big Nick, what do you got for us?
This is really difficult because am I allowed to have a tie?
Of course.
Yes. Mark usually has 37 choices.
Exactly.
Which is great because, I mean, there's 32 teams, but in Mark's defense, some of these teams are up to 4 uniforms now between the color rush and the throwbacks, which, look, I love that. And I love that we're allowed to do throwback helmets to go with the throwback uniforms, because before, if you weren't doing throwback helmets, it just made no sense. It was just it just looked terrible. Now, the two worst uniforms in the NFL, in Big Nick's humble opinion, are
number 1.
Number 1A and number 1B.
1A, 1B.
The New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns. When I watch those teams,
It's very self-respect or retrospective of you.
Well, and here's the thing: the Patriots uniforms are ugly all the time unless they do the throwback. I really like the Patriot hat. Those ones are really cool. The Browns. Here's what I'll say in their defense: they don't wear the brown jersey enough. That dark brown jersey is intimidating. They should wear it more often. They like to wear the white a lot. The color rush for the Browns is quite good. That's that mostly brown with a little hint of orange. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. But when the one that I'm specifically talking about is when the Browns choose to wear the white jersey with the orange pants. When they wear that, I'm like, I have to ask the room, I'm like, is this TV HD? Is there something wrong with this TV? It looks like I'm watching a TV orange from 1988. Like it is disgusting.
That's hilarious. You know what's funny about that is that this weekend, the Bengals are wearing white jerseys with their new orange pants with white socks, and everybody in Cincinnati. The orange pants have not been a hit in Cincinnati. So it's funny you said that, Big Nick, because I heard even the beat writers for the Bengals saying they look like the Browns.
Yeah, this is some bullshit.
That's Sunday night. You got, Cincinnati fans, bring your barf bag because you might vomit in your mouth looking at that uniform.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Good picks, Big Nick.
Thank you. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all. So for me, I've got a little bit of a 1-1A. The Browns were up there for me, Big Nick, but I didn't want to crap on your parade. You're already having a bad year.
You're a nice man.
I didn't want to, I didn't want to dig into too much.
Give him a hug.
For me, it's a specific jersey.
Ooh,
so this doesn't go across the spectrum of all their jerseys, because I actually think their other jerseys are pretty slick. Some of them. But I'm going to go with the Jailhouse Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, yeah. Sting B, whatever the hell the thing is, with the yellow and the stripes. I get it's the throwback. I get, thank God there wasn't TV back then to capture that on television. My God, every time they put that on, I'm like, who decided that that's a good look? That's a good way to go? It is an eyesore. And I feel like, you remember like in the old days when the antenna wasn't coming in clearly and you had the lines going across the TV? That's how it makes my eyes feel when I'm like watching that jersey play out. Just like, oh God.
Now, here's the thing though. If we asked a Steelers fan, they'd be like, those are the greatest jerseys known to man.
Especially if they're a diehard old school Steelers fan. They're probably like, that's the OG. That's the original. I'm going to have an honorable mention here. And for me, boys, this is actually a new jersey that was just released last year. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals, and specifically their red jersey. Like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of teams that just have a lot of similar.
Big Nick's repping it right now.
Similar jerseys. See, I didn't have the jersey, but he does have the Arizona Cardinals. And again, this isn't a shot at the team. I like the Cardinals. But the new red jersey, there's literally nothing on it. It's just a red shirt. There's not a line on it. There's not did you guys just not even try? Like the marketing team was like, all right, just picture. Actually, let me tell a story here. Let me see if I can set the scene, boys.
Close your eyes. Listen.
Close your eyes and just
unless you're driving.
Think about this. You're a high paid executive marketing department resource for the Arizona Cardinals. You got a big presentation today. You're presenting to the owner, the leadership. You're like, man, I can't wait to just rock the football world with these uniform release. It's gonna shake the foundation of the NFL. You get into the room.
It's the future of jerseys.
You get the PowerPoint up that you've been working weeks on this PowerPoint, and you pull it up and you're like, listen, I don't know who the owner is. What is his name? I can't remember his name, but
Michael Bidwell.
Listen, Mr. Bidwell.
Hey, Mikey B.
We've been working tirelessly. We have been going without sleep. We've been going without using the bathroom.
I missed my kid's birthday.
I haven't had coffee in weeks. We're gonna rock your world today, Mr. Bidwell. So let me display for you the new vision of the Arizona Cardinals, and it's a fucking red t-shirt that just says Arizona across the front of it and a number. Nothing on the pants, nothing on the socks, nothing. Just a red shirt.
Fired up.
Oh yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
Well,
How
here's
are
the
the-
thing. You're right. Not only was it presented, but it was okayed by multiple people. And so that's what's crazy to me. Like,
Like, I
here's the one
like
thing
crisp and clean. I can
maybe,
get with that.
Maybe it was like his kids, nephews, cousins, like, I want all red. And they're like, let's do it.
I bet one of the drafts didn't even have Arizona on the front. So it literally was just a plain red shirt with a number on it. Like, who was like, man, I was up all night working on this sketch. Like, dude, you're fired. You are fired.
They're like, we just saved $32,000 without putting those stripes on.
Yeah. And like, look, I'll admit, it's not that it even looks that bad. It's not like I look at it and I go, oh, but I look at it and I go, what would you say you do here?
I hand the specs to the engineer.
I'm a people person. What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, honestly, I just like, and you know, the black and the white version look like they're just Ohio State fans. And they're like, look, that with the Leo DiCaprio gif where he's like snapping and pointing at the TV.
You're actually right. It wasn't like it was one person. We're talking about a team.
A team. And I guarantee they worked on this for like a year plus.
Yeah.
Right?
And they're
like,
hey,
imagine like every time they're like, nope, just go back to the red. Well, how about if we put this? Nope, take that shit off of there. I just want nothing but a red t-shirt. That's it. Well, what if I do it? Take it off, Johnny. I want a red t-shirt with nothing on it. Sorry. Rant over, boys. Whew. I think I broke a sweat going through that rant. And Cardinals fans.
Vanity head popped out.
Love you guys, Cardinals fans. Nothing against you. Again, not saying it doesn't look sleek and clean, but just your marketing department, I'd turn a side eye at them a little bit. Hopefully they aren't there for long. All right, boys, let's go back around the horn one more time. Big Nick, why don't you give us your best uniforms? We'll switch up the order here a little bit. Your best favorite uniforms in the NFL.
Well, and
he's going to be like, I love the ones you just described.
The
Cardinals. Shout out to Bidwell. No, I think I picked this for my favorite, possibly my favorite uniform of all. When we did a sports uniforms episode a while back, it's the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'll tell you why. The thing I love, I'm a big fan of teams that want to use just two colors, right? And I know when they do the away ones, we got white, silver, and black. But the uniform is silver and black. When they're at home, it's two colors. Cardinals, shout out to them. It's cardinal red and white. When they're two colors. I can't stand Penn State, but there's something clean to me about just going with the two colors.
Yep.
But the other thing that I like about the Raiders is, as far as I know, and there are people that know more about the Raiders than I do. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. It's at TCGNIC on X. You can message me. You can call me out. I would be happy for somebody to call me out if I'm wrong, because I don't know that I'm right. But part of my thinking here is, I don't think they have a throwback uniform because I think they've been using the same uniform forever.
Yeah, I agree. There is no throwback because it's literally the same jersey
uniform. I mean,
1970, whatever.
Yeah, the only thing that may have changed is where the NFL patch is and a Nike swoosh instead of some other brand. But It's the same uniform. Like, so there's something really cool about the history of the uniform, that there is no throwback, and there is no. I was going to say there's no color rush. But I've seen them wear the white with the silver numbers. So
that's a pretty slick look.
If there is a color rush, that has to be it, though. But if you go to the Las Vegas Raiders website, it only claims the two uniforms, the black and silver, and then the away jersey.
I think it would be cool
jersey.
if they did all silver jersey, all silver pants, black letters.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. See,
that'd be sick.
Hire me as your marketing. I can design jerseys.
He can put two lines on a jersey and already improve it.
Yeah. They call me the jersey master.
Look, I've been trying to become the GM of the Raiders since 1987.
Yep. I mean, you had a couple bad interviews there, but
So I probably shouldn't speak ill of Mark Davis, but I enjoy the Raiders. I enjoy the organization. I am a huge Al Davis just win baby fan. Have been my whole life.
Love the haircut too.
Well, I'm talking about Mark Davis, the son, the current owner. Al Davis unfortunately passed away years ago, and he's a football legend, right? He was a player, a coach, an owner, a GM. He did it all, baby. And I love the just win, baby. And he was smart enough to hire John Madden. Mark Davis's son took over the team, and Mark Davis is 69 years old. He's a businessman, and he's the franchise owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and he was very smart for bringing them to Las Vegas. But he's probably the only 69-year-old in this great country that still sits at the kids' table on Thanksgiving. And he's there for a reason. And Mark's right. It's the haircut.
Him and Zuckerberg.
Sweetwater Mark is right. It's because of the haircut. He's still sitting at the kids' table on one of those small fold-out chairs with other kids that are wearing bibs. And
it just makes me think of the Little Rascals.
Yeah. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving to Mark Davis and family.
Yes, indeed.
Let him sit at the big kid table, please.
Not yet. Too soon.
Too soon.
Oh, man. I like it. All right, Mr. B. What about you? What do you got?
All right. So there's a clear winner, and then I'll give you the one that I'm going to say. The Cincinnati Bengals all white helmet is the greatest jersey that's ever been known to man. I don't know why the Bengals don't do that like 9 times a year, but I'll move on.
Legit.
That's a homer pick. My other one that I absolutely love, I wish they would do it more, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers throwback creamsicle jerseys.
Yes,
see, that's creamsicle done right.
The old school helmet with the dude with he's got the little knife in his mouth.
That's the Buccaneer with the knife in his mouth.
Yeah, he's a legit Buccaneer. And then that creamsicle color, I love that. Just that screams,
that's a quality pick.
That screams 1980s football.
I get to see those quite a bit in person when I went to Bengals games as a kid and when they'd play the Bucks, and I just always thought it was a slick looking. Who was it back then? Trent Dilfer, I think, was slinging the pigskin for them. But yeah,
and Big Nick, my second pick was of course the Raiders. I just love the Raiders jerseys. One that I find that's kind of fun that I just want to throw out there is the Atlanta Falcons when they do the red helmet with the black jersey.
Yeah.
I don't know if that. I think they did that this year, and Kirk Cousins went nutso. But I think the red helmet is awesome. That
Kirk
also
James.
just reminds me of Andre Rison in 1987 football. But but clearly the winner is the Cincinnati Bengals, all white.
Clearly.
Shout out to the late great Heath Ledger, because I feel like when they wear the orange creamsicle unis with the Buccaneer with the knife in his mouth, over the loudspeaker they should say, "Why so serious?"
Well, I will say, boys, you've taken a few of my selections, so I will go outside the box and flip it up on the fly. Unlike
Mark's like, I'm going to go with a hockey jersey.
Unlike the marketing guy in Arizona, I can think on my feet and actually come up with something besides just a plain red T-shirt. I'm going
to go with a blue T-shirt.
I'm actually going to go red, and I think this was the first year that they wore it. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it. The new red Texans, all red uniforms with the red helmets. Those were slick, man. It almost had like the horn looking kind of thing on the shoulder.
Didn't the jersey say H-Town on it?
Yeah, and then you've got the blue with the tiny little white stripe down the legs. It looks slick, man. Just the way the whole Arizona, take some notes, put something on your jersey. It's a way to put something
to me
together.
That was a new school design. That was cool. I agree.
Very cool.
Good call on that one, buddy.
I also like the Rams, man. I've always liked the Rams, kind of similar to the Bengals. Probably a lot of it's just the helmet, but I think they do some cool stuff. And then the Chargers with the bolts. You can't go wrong with the Chargers and the bolts.
And owners, if you're listening, Big Kid Show, you can hire us. We can design your jersey.
The three of us are way cheaper than Nike and whoever these other schlubs are.
They should do like next year, NFL, say week 14, all Big Kids design jerseys.
I think we just have a competition. And be like, look, old Timothy over there has been working on this plain red T-shirt for 2 years. I worked 10 minutes after work and came up with this idea. Yeah. Check this out.
Blew your mind.
Blew your mind.
The thing, though, here, Mark, is that, with the Houston uniform, the Rams, with all these great uniforms, these teams, these think tanks were tasked with coming up with these great uniforms, and they put in a solid 60, 80-hour work week that week. The Cardinal team was like, on Monday morning, they're like, you know what? How about we just go with Cardinal red, and we can be out of here by lunch and skip the rest of the work week.
Because it's not even just the jersey. There's nothing on the pants. The pants are just red. Like there's nothing. Literally, it's just a blank canvas. It's like
Mark is fired up.
This is Arizona.
Let me say one last thing. Let me reenact one of the meetings between two of the people on the marketing team. The guy came up with this elaborate scheme. He's got all these different things. He's got his Photoshop up. He's like,
I'll play the president. Go.
Yeah, he's like, hey, boss, come here. Take a look at this. The boss just comes over and says, hey, can I drive for a second? And he comes over and he selects the lines on the jersey, delete. Selects all the designs on the pants, delete. Selects all the stuff above the number, delete. And then he just writes, Arizona. There, I fixed it for you. I took every fucking thing off of the – it just says Arizona. That's it.
That's it.
Oh,
You're going straight to the top.
Straight to the top. This design is taking us to the top, kid. So I appreciate everybody putting up with my rant. Arizona fans, we love you. We love you. The Cardinals, hopefully they're going to make some noise. We had plenty of nice things to say about the Cardinals this episode.
4 wins in a row.
That's right. Big kids, we appreciate you hopping on and joining us on this NFL adventure. It will not be our last this season. Definitely come back and check out how right we are as we continue to progress through this NFL season. Thank you for hanging out in the treehouse with us. Until next time, we are the Big Kid Show.